Alright, we're ready to roll. 62 was the magic number, and this guy got it. Let's roll. This is the first time we're playing. This name does not ring a bell. Let's try this. Let's see how black reacts. Push, or support, or takes. There's a few options. Alright, so black is saying I want to make sure I maintain a pawn on d5. A foothold in the center. A foothold with a foot soldier on d5. Alright. So Queen's Gambit declined. Bishop b4, bishop e7, c6 are some options. Alright, c6 it is. Bishop g5 goes down a pretty theoretical line that I'm not comfortable with. And so what? Well, let me do this. I could play e3. I could have captured and then played my bishop out. If I played bishop out right away, there is takes, and then black is going to hang on to a pawn. This queen seems like she's maybe going to be a bit misplaced, being on the c file. I'm envisioning eventually a tempo gaining move with rook here. Even if this pawn doesn't eventually recapture on d5, just some indirect threat of a knight here or capturing on d5 might force black to go elsewhere with the queen. If queen b6, I really wouldn't be capturing because it helps out the rook, but I would be considering c5. So let's get in e3. My bishop wants to get out. So I have no issue with my bad bishop. He's outside the pawn chain. Now where do I go? Do I move my bishop or move my rook to c1? I really don't think I should capture. I don't see how that helps me. Well, hang on. Why not capture and then move my bishop? Now that this knight is blocking the bishop from coming out of this classical diagonal, maybe I should just take and then play my bishop to d3. I'm going to go here. I can't make a decision yet with my light square. Well, I mean, I can, but I just don't know. I'm not sure where he belongs. Put him on c1. Let's see if black flinches. Now, one maybe slight downside to having the rook on c1 is if the queen plays to b6, and if I play c5 after takes, my rook is going to have to come back over on a1. But I don't know. You can't have it all, I guess. So, candidate moves for black, probably just castle. Alright, castle it is. And so they're not really reacting. I really think I should... Yeah, let me take now. And then I'll move my bishop. I don't want to move my bishop and then have black take. And then there will be this type of pawn break. So this is pretty much the only recapture. Otherwise black is going to get in some deep trouble. Although, like, if you take like this, I can't move my knight just yet because he's unprotected, but okay. Let's go here. Of these two squares, if there's no worry of some pin against the knight, why not go here? That's kind of how I quickly view it. Let's have him more aggressive, so watch over e4. This is a pivot point for black. You could also maybe just see it as watch over a square that there could potentially be a black minor piece hopping to. These are the two support points for black's minor pieces. Alright, so question thrown to my bishop. I could go here. I will go there. It's with the tempo. It's the queen. Bishop d6, I think. Oops. Yeah, bishop d6, I think. Even though it would be a trade of my bad bishop for black's good bishop, it's he's a very good piece. I think it's the right way to go. I wouldn't have knight b5. That's not working. If bishop d6 was played when I'm castled, then this is it would be a bad move. But bishop d6, knight b5 could be met with queen a5, and my knight would have to return. So that's not really working. So my initial idea was to not take the bishop and instead back up. I'm going to do that, and maybe black will capture my bishop before I castle. I think it's better for black to actually keep the tension and make a more useful move, such as rook to e8. They're down a lot of time here, 1 minute 20. So it's usually better to hold off on that capture until I castle, and I don't think I could. I don't know what other useful move I can be making in this position, so I'm just going to go with it. So now if there is this capture, at least I don't have some play on the H file, and this isn't really a weakness. I see it more as an asset, capturing like this, and that I have a flight square. Although there are some lines where you have to be cautious if the queen and knight somehow get over to this section of the board, king side. If you can envision a knight on g4, queen on h5, with always some threat of the h2 square. Of course I had to find a variation that would lead to me saying h2, right? So bishop takes or a knight move to get the bishop out. I was thinking more knight f8 if the knight was going to move. Now this is actually just losing because of that. That was the threat since I castled. So out of this queen's gambit decline, this queen on c8 is definitely misplaced. She probably shouldn't have moved as early as she did. So I'm just going to take with the knight. Could have taken with the bishop, but I'm just going to take. I'm hitting the rook. I want to. This is going to now welcome more exchanges. So, and it really doesn't matter at this point. It's down on time and position. So I'm going to try to kick the knight around. Could post up here. That knight's gone. Less than 20. Knight e5, really anything at this point. Oh, bishop here would have been good too for a skewer. No time, no position though at this point. Alright, good game. Let's go back. Actually, you know what I want to do? I want to go back in a different way. I want to bring up this game so that it's a bigger board. I don't know why I've always didn't do this. Instead of staring at a very small board, you could view it just like this. So this is the game we just played, and again, my decisions here are bishop g5, but then d takes c. I'm not really a big fan of that. So bishop out, I could take, queen b3, e3. I like queen b3. I want to still follow through and have him outside of my eventual pawn chain. So this is just misplaced. The queen really doesn't know its role. What's an improvement is to focus on the e5 square, and you do that with the two minor pieces that you have yet to develop. So your bishop, your king bishop, your queen knight on d7, your bishop on d6, and it's gonna be a better setup. Bishop d6, knight d7, castle, rook e8 like you played in the game. Really the only issue I'm having with your development is your queen coming to c7, and it turned out to be tactically vulnerable, as we saw with knight b5 after I was castled. What you could look forward to at that point is, if I'm keeping this tension for too long, you could consider taking and then following up with the pawn break of e5. That would be the idea. If I'm taking like I did in the game, at this point right here, I took and then developed, well, I would maybe even consider rook to e8 immediately, bishop d6, although, I mean, h6 isn't so bad, but definitely right here, It's quite timely. You need to do something. In fact, I was even wrong at this point right here when I was saying if there was going to be a knight move played, I would be going to f8. But this is a main threat right now. As soon as I castle, so you should take. As soon as I wouldn't have some play on the h file, take on g3, and as a follow up, knight f8, and then your bishop is free to go out, and it's still a game. But sheets again, it's just coming out to the queen being on a vulnerable post on the c7 square. Okay.